He's an Exeter boy, isn't he? And I think he.
No, he's a Jersey boy, actually.
Oh, sorry, he's a Jersey boy.
Yeah.
He's Exeter fan. I think he supports Exeter.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
I think so, because I think there's a link with him and Jay Stansfield. I think they're really good friends.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, when he joined from Fulham, all the Blues fans were commenting on social media, go, "Come on, Jay's next, Jay's next." So
I saw
that connection.
I saw a thing on I think it was X, obviously X Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a hashtag going around, Free Jay.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Free Jay. Yeah,
Free
yeah.
Jay. So welcome back to Small Alliance FC, and those of you who are regulars to the channel will know that we like to do a video every time Birmingham City sign a new player. And as you've probably seen, we've been very busy this summer, and a few days ago Birmingham City signed Luke Harris on loan from Fulham. And in this video, we just want to do a quick overview of Luke, what type of player he is, what to expect, and just give our general opinions, really. So, Matt, you saw the signing of Luke Harris. Any thoughts?
I'm really happy, and we had a few comments on our channel last week. Dad saying, "Oh, it's gone really quiet at the Blues. We've been getting transfers every day, so we've kind of had a bit of a week's lull, haven't we, in the transfer market?" But it's always nice to know the club are doing their due diligence and doing things behind the scenes, which is really good. But I'm really happy with him. So we got him from Fulham, but he was actually on loan for the second half of the season at Exeter last year. So he knows League One. He knows, we talk about things in League One, like the pitches and the sort of style of football down there. So he's going to be familiar with that. That's already a massive green tick for me. I love it when players are familiar with the league. And he seems like he's going to fit into Chris Davis' style of football really nicely. He's 5'8". He's on the smaller side, but for an attacking midfielder, if you're a dribbler, you're going past players, have the ball in tight spaces, that's exactly what you want, really. And that's the kind of player that he is, that sort of attacking midfielder. We have Williamson there. I think he's still going to be Chris Davis' number one in terms of starter. I think he's 19 years old. He's come in for a bit of depth. He is going to get quite a bit of game time again with that squad rotation. But I think this is a great addition to the squad. Adding that depth and in that attacking mid position, it seems like we're really set now. We've got a good balance of height and physicality in Williamson, and now we've got a bit more of a smaller, trickier, quite aggressive player in Harris as well. So I think this is a great signing.
Yeah, he's a squad player, I believe. I think that he's been brought in to give us squad depth. That I don't think he's going to be a regular starter unless we have lots of injuries and suspensions. But he's a young lad. He's coming for some experience. I think he will get game time in possibly Carabao Cup and in the EFL Trophy. And he will potentially be, like we talked about before, haven't we, about impact substitutes. If you've got a game that, maybe you're struggling to break down the opposition, you need a set of fresh legs on there. He seems to be the type of player that would fit that criteria quite nicely. So I think he's going to play a part in the team this season. But for me, he's brought in to give us that more depth in midfield. And I think from what I've seen of him, I'll show you some stats in a minute what I found. But he does look like a good quality player as well.
I agree. I mean, to be fair, I've got some stats as well. Do you want me to start with mine? And then we'll see if we overlap along the way. I'm sure we will. To be fair, it was quite good for this one because when we signed Williamson and we signed Clara, we obviously had to do quite a bit of research on them because we hadn't heard of them. Actually, Luke Harris had hit my radar. I saw him at Exeter a few times last year. I know a little bit about him, and he's genuinely a really good player. But here's some stats for those who want to know a little bit more about him. At age 15, he scored 11 goals in the under-18s. Again, that's really impressive. He earned a scholarship and then scored 25 goals across 2 seasons. Again, for an attacking midfielder, that's a really good record to have, even at the youth levels.
Yep.
He made his Premier League debut against, you never guess who, Villa in 2022, and he spent last season on loan at Exeter in January, and he also scored an 11-minute hat-trick. Don't know whether many people know that. That was actually on the Blues infographic I saw when we signed him yesterday. He's also a Welsh international. Well, he's been set up in the Welsh setup, so he's played across different age ranges, and he has had senior call-ups, but he hasn't quite made his first team start yet for the Welsh internationals team. But he's still been part of that setup. It's always good to get that international experience, isn't it? Even if you're not playing, just being part of the setup, going out there, being picked. And
well, he knows where the back of the net is, doesn't he? Yeah. So as you say, 19 years old. He's right-footed as well. So clearly that gives us further options in that particular category as well. But he has scored goals. So a lot of his games, to add to your stats, he's played 41 games in Premier League 2, which is obviously the reserve leagues of the Premier League teams. Played 41 games, scored 27 goals, 7 assists in Premier League 2. And don't forget, there's going to be some pretty good quality players and teams in that league. Even though it's not the full competitive league. League One's the one I've really focused on because obviously, as you mentioned, he was at Exeter City last season. Played 21 games for them, scored 4 goals and 2 assists. And also as well, we had a message actually, which was on one of our last video that went out from Martin West. He commented about the sign of Luke Harris. I'll read it out because it's very interesting. He says, "I thank you you, Martin, for the comment as well. He said, after the loan signing of Luke Harris, I tapped into my friend's knowledge as he's an Exeter fan. And based upon his loan from last season, my friend told me that he's a great signing. He's a good tackler, bosses the midfield, and can score a goal or two. So he thinks obviously we look like we've got a good signing there. So that's obviously from an Exeter fan. So that's.
I also read something similar from other Exeter fans. They said he's really quite skillful and good on the ball, but actually he does get stuck in and can put a challenge in as well. So he's clearly got both sides to his game. And I've heard that he's quite skillful. He likes to go at players. He wants the ball. You know, there's players that shout that want the ball. I love players like that. You know, sometimes players can go invisible in games and they look like they're shying away a little bit. I know they're not, but they just can't get involved sometimes. He looks like he wants to get involved. He wants to be in possession. He wants the ball. And how much does that play into Chris Davies' style of football? And I know you said that he's a squad player and he's not going to, be playing and starting every single week, but we are going to have cup games. He might come on towards the later part of games to try and break down defences. When you've got that skill set that Chris Davies wants, high possession, high press, fast, going at teams, he's got all the skills and attributes that I think Chris Davies is really going to like. And again, this is just off social media. This isn't my opinion, but apparently people say that he's modelled his game on Frank Lampard in terms of that sort of style of player. And the Welsh connections say he's very similar to sort of Aaron Ramsey, because obviously that's sort of he's a Welsh player there. So they've compared him to that sort of Frank Lampard, Aaron Ramsey kind of player, which I think is really good comparisons. And I think we've got a real good squad player on our hands here.
I think so as well. I think it's the energy as well. That's why he's been brought in. As you mentioned, Matt, and what we've seen so far in pre-season. By the way, the performance against West Brom, there was very high energy in that. It was really easy to see what difference Chris Davies has already made in the pre-season friendly. And I think that Luke Harris is going to suit that down to a T. He's almost like a busy player, likes to get around the pitch and stuck in as well. I've been sort of thinking as you've been talking about like similarities, and to me, even though he won't play wide, he sounds very much like a Dan James type of player to me. He plays for Leeds, very fast and pacey, got a bit of a burst, and we'll just run around all day long. So I think he's going to be a good asset to us because there are going to be games when we're going to need players like that. I mean, you mentioned Williamson earlier. He's playing as a number 10, obviously just behind Alfie May. So he's almost like the spearhead of the midfield, isn't he? And I'm just wondering whether Luke Harris would be in that role or whether he'd play him a little bit deeper in midfield.
As a central midfielder,
but as an attacking central midfielder. So not, obviously we've got the likes of Mark Leonard who can do the defensive side of things as well, just to complement like Mark Leonard, just to give us that balance in midfield as well. So potentially could come deeper into midfield. And I do think we've mentioned this before, man. Blues fans that it's a long old season. We've got a lot of games coming up, a lot of competitions, and also think with having players like this as well. Chris Davies is going to want what he sees as his first choice 11 available for the league games. So if you want to be competitive in all competitions, you're going to need players like Luke Harris in the team that can come into that group with injuries and suspensions, but are also there to give these type of players a break for those types of games as well. The first team as well. So I think it's a really important thing because I made a few comments as well on a video that we've recently put out where I was reminding people that we have finally started to get strength in depth. We haven't had that for years,
and not loans, fully contracted players.
Exactly. I mean, Luke Harris is a loan, but he's the first one. He's the first one. But we've got that strength in depth, so that if somebody gets injured or suspended, you're not thinking, "Oh no, who's going to come on now?" You haven't got that anymore. And I think that if I was Chris Davies, I'd be looking at the EFL trophy. I want to win it. I want to win every competition I'm in. But I ain't going to play and risk the players. We've got a big league game coming up on the weekend. You want players that are just as competitive who can come into that sort of squad for these types of competitions and not sort of make our first team choices vulnerable. So I think he's going to get a lot of games with us, Luke Harris, which is what he's come for. He's come for competitive football to a big club. He said he enjoyed his time at Exeter. He loved it there, and also
he's an Exeter boy, isn't he? And I think
he's a Jersey boy actually.
Oh, sorry, he's a Jersey boy. He's Exeter fan. I think he supports Exeter.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
I think so because I think there's a link with him and Jay Stansfield. I think they're really good friends.
Oh, okay.
And obviously when he joined from Fulham, all the Blues fans were commenting on social media, "Come on, Jay's next." So
I saw
that connection.
I saw a thing on I think it was X, obviously X Twitter. There's a hashtag going around, Free Jay. Did you see it? Free Jay, because obviously, but obviously we've got that connection with Fulham, haven't we? Through Jay Stansfield, and obviously this seems to be another quality player. So I'm really pleased, and I think we need this strength in depth. particularly in certain areas, just like I mentioned, just so that we can rotate our players. So this is protecting players from injuries. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute, by the way, that this guy, Luke Harris, has come in just to fulfil that purpose only. Because I think from what I've seen, he's capable of being in or playing in the first team.
Also, Chris Davis is an intelligent manager. If Luke Harris is giving his all on the training pitch and he's putting the performance, he will earn his place.
Yes.
Some managers can be quite stubborn, in my opinion, and they have their favourites. I mean, Gareth Southgate in England, he tends to pick his favourite players, doesn't he? Whereas I think Chris Davis is going to be a bit more open-minded. And if you graft on the training ground and pitch, you will get selected. If you can put the performances, you will get picked. So I think he's got the world is his oyster, really. If he puts his head down and he really grafts, I think Chris Davis will give him his shot. And I think he has come in as a backup in the number 10 role. But I like what you said about him being possibly dropping back a little bit deeper if we need that strength in numbers. And also, he can play on the left side as well. Again, I think we're fully set really on the left-hand side now in terms of players. But that Buchanan left back, left centre-back theory is if we do get injuries, we do get suspensions, we've got a bit more versatility that he can play in other positions as well. And I think that's really important. And 2 final points for me, Dad, and we'll wrap the video up, is one, again, a bit of a statement signing, not in the context of, money or, a big transfer, but we did beat a few championship clubs to his signature. There were championship clubs rumoured. He's decided to come to Birmingham, a League One team, and that just shows the intent of this club. That shows the intent of the owners. And I think, to me, it shows the charisma and the intelligence of Chris Davis as well, because Luke Harris, in his interview, said he spoke to the gaffer and he spoke about his style of football and he thought he could really fit in here as well. So I don't think it's to be understated. Craig Gardner, Chris Davis, Gary Cook, if you want to throw him in there, the board and everyone behind the scenes are doing incredible work to get this calibre of player in.
Yeah, just one thing that niggles at me a little bit, if I'm honest, is that, we brought in a 19-year-old here on loan from Fulham to give him a bit of experience, to be a squad player. And it begs the question for me, if we're doing that with him, why are we sending Junior Dixon out on loan? Why don't we give him the same chance?
I think, again, I haven't heard this officially, but I've heard there's attitude problems with the Junior Dixon. This is why Crystal Palace wanted to let him off the books as well. There's a little bit, I don't want to say arrogance, but there's definitely an attitude there, and it's not as if it's happened once. There seems to be a pattern, and I'm possibly putting two and two together and getting 10, but I've been hearing that there's a bit of a attitude problem.
Yeah, I don't know how that attitude is going to change by sending him on loan. We need to, with our young players, take the similar approach to this, where we have potential players like Junior Dixon, obviously Ramel Donovan. I think will be in buzzing around the first team anyway this season.
I really hope so.
Brandon Keeler, George Hall. There's lots of good youngsters we've already got. So why send them out on loan if we're bringing in loan players of this age? We've already got players of that age. Why not? It's just a question. I don't know what you think, Blues fans. I know that there is benefit in sending players out on loan. I totally get that. Give them first team experience in a different team. But we're showing by bringing in a player like Luke Harris, who's 19, that we can bring in young players and we can potentially utilise them around the first team. So my question is, why not use our own youth players
the thing is,
in certain areas?
The youth players which have been impressive have had game time. Ramel Donovan's played. George Hall has played. Fair enough, Alfie Chang has been injured. But there's a pattern with players like Dixon. No one's picking him to play. To me, that's a red flag and a common denominator of something going on. Anyway, but we're not going to dwell on that for too long. No. This is about Luke Harris. But it's a really valid point, Dad, that we should be nurturing our young talent. We should be giving them the chances and the opportunities. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But, really interesting point. And as you said, if we can develop and play our own players, that's a massive positive as well. I can't wait to see a lot of our youth players get some time this year, especially with Mal Donovan. But it's about Luke Harris, and I think this is a great signing, and I can't wait to see him get some minutes on the pitch.
Me neither. So what do you think, Blues fans? And by the way, Luke, if you're watching this, get on the phone to Jay for us, will you? Get the mobile out, have a chat with Jay, ask him to, come back to the Blues. We'd love to see him. But what do you think, Blues fans? Do you about the signing of Luke Harris? Do you think it's the right approach? Do you think he looks like a decent player? He certainly does look like a good, capable player, and I'm sure he's going to be a big asset to the squad for this season. So let us know what you think. If you did like this video, as always, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, pop along to our X page and Instagram page, and you'll see the handles appearing for them on the screen right now. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content all about Birmingham City. And myself and Matt will see you on the next video.